And today we're here with John Newell. You are Portfolio Manager and Technical Analyst at Fieldhouse Capital Management. Thank you for coming on Skype today and coming on the show.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me. Pleasure.
Absolutely. And now for our watchers that aren't familiar with who you are and the work that you've done, you've been in the capital market for quite some time, and especially in the mining sector as well. Can you give us a little bit of a background of who you are and what you do?
Okay, well, I've been in the business about 38 years, and you know, the precious metals market space was pretty choppy and back in 2013, and I really wanted to concentrate on the space. I thought it was undervalued, and I saw the relative strength of Canadian companies like Cisco and Probe, Lakeshore, Kirkland start to turn in 2013. And so in simplistic terms, the relative strength of Canadian miners started to get strong. And so I built a portfolio around that strength and built a pilot fund. It did very well. And in 2016, I was seeded with a precious metals fund, a hedge fund, in April of 2016. Leading into 2016, there was kind of a major cycle bottom, much like 2001. And so I was trying to get seeded for that specific move, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does, and that's been a huge focus of what people have been saying recently, is that, you know, precious metals, and especially a lot of the juniors, they've reached bottoms in that 2016 year, and now it's looking like we're seeing somewhat of a resurgence of those, and you can see it. I mean, right in our chat rooms, we've got mining chat rooms for our company as well, and there's a lot of people talking about high flyers. You're looking at gold, and you're looking at Tsxv from a few weeks ago, Sokiman. You're looking at all these different aspects, and I believe you actually chose a couple of those. Jugger was another one that you were looking into, Juggernaut. It's nice to see that these are going and these are starting to really pick up. And the reason why you're on the show as well is that there was a certain one that you had an article come out on MoneyWise, the MoneyWise reports or Streetwise reports on
Right.
August 31st about Triumph Gold. Are you able to talk about that one a little bit and why you think that could be a winner?
Okay, well, where I first start is I look at the technicals or the charts of companies. And back in early 2016, I had a good look at Triumph Gold. I didn't think it was ready. It went up and down kind of in a sideways base building pattern. And by the spring of this year, it looked ready to go. I look at some specific triggers in those charts that I think are kind of hidden. And when that trigger starts to react, that's when I really start looking closely at investing. And that's what happened in Triumph Gold. The stock broke out, pulled back, and then you go and look at all the other boxes. Is it a good management team? Do they have good geologists? Is it in a good jurisdiction? Is it a district-style play that can move the needle for majors? And as you tick those boxes, it really comes down to the drilling and the truth machine. Are they going to have results that it's going to make majors interested in the property? And so Triumph ticked all those boxes. A good management team. Remember, it had gone through the wars from 2011-12 until really kind of last summer. And then the new management team got involved, had a different look at the project, and it looked like Gold Corp made the 19.99% investment in Triumph, and it looked like it ticked all the boxes, and it looked ready to go, and that's when I put out a first target of 70. I forget exactly. The next target is $1.20 and 240. That's what it looks like to me. There's no guarantee, but it hit and exceeded its first target, and when it did that, it has the right to obviously go to the next target. Corrections in moves for the work that I do is a good thing, because I get to see how the accumulation and distribution of a company's stock price. So corrections, although they're tough, are kind of a good thing.
Yeah,
in the work that I do.
And absolutely, and especially when you get really large appreciations in stocks, you like to see a little bit of a pullback sometimes, because that's a lot of profit taking, and those that were in at the very low amounts, like say 20 cents or 30 cents in this case, they're able to sell their stocks. Now new people buy it, now they have it at say 60 or 70 cents. So you're shaking the tree. You're getting a lot of loose hands out there. The people who are still holding their larger positions, I don't believe they're selling, although I don't have all that information, but sometimes you'd like to see that. And the article, by the way, you wrote an article on Streetwise Reports. For any of our viewers, if you go on to Follow the Money Investor Group on Facebook, I've posted that article in there so you can see what article we were speaking about, and I have it up on the screen as well here. It's a great representation of, you're going through the play itself, you're speaking about why the Yukon is important, but a couple of things that really stood out to me. I'm still learning this technical side of the mining sector. I was strongly in cannabis and all of that and in other areas, but I've always been a fundamentalist. And I look for things, if I was a gold company, what would I want to look for? And just like you said, it checks off the box. I love the fact that Gold Corp has a 19.9999% ownership of that company. For those that don't know, once you get at 20%, you have to make a qualifying bid to take over that company, so they're just before that. But the road is a huge aspect, where they have a road, and it says right in your article, where it's a government paved road, it goes right to the property, and it spans the entire 32 kilometers of the property. Those are expensive from what I hear.
Absolutely. That's a huge plus, and one can even extrapolate on that road, because there's the Western gold and copper property about 150 kilometers away, and it's kind of a natural extension of that road would be into that big porphyry. So it's a huge asset. One could even take the road right into the coffee projects, and that's pure speculation on my part, but the whole district and the vast unexplored areas in that whole Dawson range will be opened up by extending that road. And at this point it's speculation, but that road is a very strategic part of the company for sure.
Yeah, and if we keep this map up as well, this screenshot, what you'll see is TIG, Triumph Gold, they're down the bottom there. They've got 3 triangles on there. If you look up, though, you'll see Coffee Creek Gold right there. And Coffee Creek is owned by Gold Corp, the company that owns 19.9999% of Triumph. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm almost positive I read it in your article, actually, in your write-up, that there are no roads currently up there. And they bought that for, what, $550 million. You don't think they're going to want to take a road and be able to extend it. It's just another, like you said, speculation. But when I'm looking at that, it's like, okay, if I'm Gold Corp, if I can buy this company, because a lot of these juniors are looking for buyouts, they want to prove that they're economical for these larger companies. If you can also have an aspect where it's like, okay, there's a road that goes here, I need to go, I think you said 150 kilometers more, but you could connect a road there, and from them spending that much money on Coffee Creek, you can imagine that that's at least in their heads. This is a possibility.
I think it's a possibility, yeah. it is speculation. There's really good reasons to build a road from Dawson down to Coffee also. So it's a bit up in the air right now, but the mineralization and what Tony Barisi is getting with his geological team also makes Triumph it looks like it's shaping up to be a pretty good standalone property if the next round of drilling results prove up to be as good or better as the last one. So it's a moving target for sure.
Yeah, and for any of our investors reading this, listening to this as well, you always have to understand, especially with juniors and a lot of our audiences in cannabis as well, a lot of these things do have speculation involved. So, you know, just because we're saying it doesn't mean that it's a screaming buy. But when you're seeing people going into this and you're seeing these different pieces, it's like, okay, it's a screaming due diligence. Look into this company or look into companies that have these certain keys. But always, like you said, it's speculation, make your own decisions. But I like seeing these aspects, and that's why I'm personally an investor in the company, because I'm seeing this and I'm willing to see what these next round of drill results are, because they showed one pretty good hole. They've got to expand, from my understanding.
Yeah, Brandon, you made a really good point about due diligence, and I just came back from Terrace. And I visited the Juggernaut and Goliath properties. And I just want to say, I was tremendously impressed. Canadians, I think, are the best miners in the world. They're trying so hard, from mapping, geochem, geophysics, mag surveys, IPs, and all the work involved to narrow down the targets on these properties and to really try to prove up a mine, and we're at the early stages. It's really exciting to see, from prospectors to PhD mappers. It's from cartoon concepts to where to put the drills. It is really, really exciting. And the day-to-day fluctuations in the market can be frustrating. But what I saw up there, and it's the same with the Triumph team, these guys are really, really trying to put something important together. And it's really a privilege to be able to see these guys at work.
Yeah, and you know what? I love the enthusiasm that you have with that as well, and I appreciate all that information, because, you know, as an investor, you want to make sure these companies are doing their due diligence. They are really trying to change things, and like I said, for myself, somewhat newer into the mining stage, but learning quickly, because it's been fascinating. One of the things I keep hearing is that our technology is changing at such a rate where they are now able to find certain deposits that, you know, people 10, 15, 20 years ago were in the exact same area and couldn't quite pinpoint it. So now we're taking technology into it, and they're really thriving. I know the Canadian government really wants this as well, especially in the Yukon area. So it'll be very interesting to see all these different developments as they develop.
Yeah, a perfect example is Great Bear, and I have an article coming out on Streetwise, I think it's today, on Great Bear. I wrote it about 3 Fridays ago, but there was 160 odd holes put into that Great Bear property, and then a new geologist looks at it differently, educated differently, new techniques. You know, this property goes back to Miranda days and another group before that, and a new geologist, new scientific data, and they put in 20 holes, and it looks like they're building something very important. so that's another group that has really made Canadian miners shine, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I'm excited for it. I appreciate the time that you've taken to come on to this show. We'd love to have you on again in the future, especially as I know the drill's been going for Triumph for some time. It'll be very interesting to see next holes as they start coming up. If you're willing, we'd love to have you come back on whenever those do come out to speak about them and if they were what you were looking for.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Brandon. That's a kind offer, and I will.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your morning out there.